Thank you, Indrajit, and good evening, everybody. Before we think about recommendations and all that, I want to share a few facts about the global changes because Ambassador Saran and Dr. Saraswat gave us a very comprehensive and solid perspective of what India should do and how India could approach. There are just three or four things. Last Thursday, today is the Thursday, so last Thursday, exactly 1 week ago, two extremely serious developments took place about AI. One, President Donald Trump sent a note to his cabinet and others that he intends to increase the defense expenditure by 50% overnight. So from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion or $1,500 billion. And these $1,500 billion will be primarily for an AI-driven armed forces or AI-driven military. This is the third time in the last 100 years that the US has increased the military expenditure by 50% overnight. The first time it was for the Second World War. The second time it was 1950 for the Korean War. And now this is the third time. It happened 1 week ago. Also last Thursday in London, while this was happening in Washington, another development took place. There was a special session of the House of Lords specifically to discuss 4 AI risks to the UK national security. So it was not about AI's role in the world and future of technology or anything, or even general AI risk. It was specifically to discuss 4 risks to the national security of UK, which I believe would also be relevant to the national security of India, and that's why I would mention them. Risk number 1, which already exists, it's not for future, it already exists. There are AI models which can enable terrorists or anybody to synthesize biological weapons and chemical weapons. This exists today. Now, these models, there are guardrails have been put in place, and the models, you cannot, say a lab technician in Mumbai or Bhopal cannot break those guardrails, as somebody knows who controls those guardrails. So if a terrorist in India anywhere wants to synthesize biological and chemical weapons, he will need a green signal from somewhere, and that somewhere is not Pakistan. But if he can get that, if somebody makes a political choice to cause havoc in India, or for that matter in Thailand or any other country, they don't need to send terrorists via forest of Kashmir or anything anymore. All they need to do is to pass on the source code. That's risk number 1, already existing. Risk number 2, already existing, but in a controlled laboratory way. And that is the risk of self-replication by AI. This is at an embryonic stage. It's not big. It's not out in the market, but it's there in the laboratories. It's controlled. And self-replication means AI can replicate itself, which means this is the first stage for AI to go out of human control. Though that is very far. This is experimental, this is lab, but it exists. Risk number 3, already exists, sandbagging. Sandbagging is AI behaves in such a way that it understands when it is being supervised by humans. And at that time, the model behaves in a very polite way. It doesn't make any mischief. And the AI can make out when it's not supervised by the humans, and that time it starts self-replicating itself. This already exists, again in a laboratory environment. And risk number 4, which does not exist, it is the biggest headache of NATO. If you have friends in NATO, you talk to them. And that is AI is acquiring capacity at a fast rate to undermine cybersecurity in critical infrastructure, particularly the decision support system of the nuclear weapons. Those from the military background, you know that there is no AI in the command or the launch function of the nuclear weapons. It's a global agreement. It's being honored by Russian, Chinese, everybody. There's no AI, and there will not be AI in the launch functions. But there is AI in the decision support system and early warning system. And there is a new AI capacity being developed to undermine the cybersecurity there. Now, this doesn't exist. But the development of this technology a week ago, 8 January 2026, was about 50% higher than 8 January 2025. So in 1 year, it has progressed a lot. So this technology could be theoretically there in 27 or 28. And after that, health will break loose. The last thing already exists. And this is not about security risk. This is about the concept of AI itself. In November, the United States launched something called Genesis Mission. Now, the Genesis Mission, President Trump said in a note circulated to his MAGA colleagues and others, is the third most important scientific project of the United States in the history of the United States. The first was Manhattan Project, which led to the Oppenheimer creating the nuclear test. The second was Apollo, which led the man to the moon. And this is the third. And this third project is about AI. And this project defines that AI should be for science and security. And the concept of science in Washington, as well as in Beijing, and I'll come to Beijing in a minute, is not your ChatGPT and DeepSeek and all that. That's not even considered AI by Xi Jinping or Donald Trump or all those people. I myself did search and I found that DeepSeek and ChatGPT and Grok don't even figure in the top 20 models of AI. The topmost is AutoImage 0. The second is AlphaFold 3. This is so the AI according to the American game plan and the Chinese game plan is an AI which will do scientific discovery, not scientific innovation. Scientific discovery. There's a difference between discovery and innovation. And their immediate target they are developing AI to develop new rules in biology and chemistry and new chemical compounds. That's the immediate target. Their long-term target is to develop new rules of physics. They think right now new rules of physics is too difficult, but immediate target is new rules. Okay, so that's the Chinese have a counterpart of Genesis M, and Chinese counterpart is called Science 1. On 26th April, I was in China, and on that day, Xi Jinping had a full one-day session where he was personally engaged with the Politburo of the CCP. And I got to see some text of Xi Jinping's remarks there. I'm sure they released only what they wanted to share. They wouldn't release everything with me. But basically, the gist was in one sentence. And Xi Jinping told his Politburo member that he's not satisfied with the progress of science and security in the Chinese AI. And Donald Trump, a lot of people who are following foreign policy might be thinking that he's one crazy person who wakes up in the morning and takes some strange decisions. But that's not the case. Donald Trump has a group who advises him, and his guru is Peter Thiel. And Peter Thiel formulates a lot of the policies. So if Donald Trump thinks that he needs to acquire Greenland or be friendly with Pakistan, the decisions are taken in Palo Alto, Seattle, and Texas, not in Mar-a-Lago, not in White House. And now, Peter Thiel basically started this whole thing that America is falling back in science. So everybody I interact with the leadership in Washington and in Beijing feels that US and China are falling behind in science, and with AI they want to go ahead. Everybody I interact with, my friends in Delhi and Mumbai, they say we are doing great. But there's a different thinking in Washington and Beijing. So in this situation, Indrajit will soon show me a time card and say that your time is up. And I ask you to make recommendations and why you are talking about Washington and Beijing. But unless you know, because everybody says we should build the capacity, but capacity is for what? You build capacities for cricket, and the game in town is soccer. So I first explain what is a game in town, and now we'll see what capacity we need. So I would say first and foremost, I see some of the very distinguished members, including our co-host Pankaj Saran, who have long national security experience. First and foremost, National Security Council, or whatever the body, I'm not familiar with the structures of the government in Delhi, should convene an urgent meeting to look at three things. One, is there any way we can stop or control or regulate the import of the particular AI models which pose these four risks? I'm not saying any. I mean, you start stopping import of everything, you'll go crazy. Nobody will deal with you. But these four specific models, the ones which pose possibility of making biological synthetic weapons, which will potentially enable disruption of nuclear weapons, self-replication, and out of control. These four. Is there a possibility? This is a deeply scientific question. So this is a matter which is not for a domain ministry. This is a matter where NSA and PSA have to come together, form a committee of experts, both from science, deep science, and I'm from the national security background, and examine this. That's one. Number two, to explore whether you can introduce some kind of mandatory assessment card for every national security assessment card for every model that is either developed within the country or imported from outside or deployed from outside. If you don't do this, and in the name of innovation and free market and all that, that is all fine. But I think national security cannot be compromised. So at least on the national security assessment, there should be a mandatory card or a mandatory report of each model, what it means for India's national security. And it should be made mandatory. This is a question you have to examine. And the third and the last, the National Security Council needs to think whether it can create some kind of a unit or a mechanism which hour by hour is following the developments in the technology, especially some of the dangerous technologies. So these are some of the things where NSA and PSA have to take the leadership. The second part of this recommendation is that these matters have been far too long, last 3 years, being just managed in a small circle of bureaucracy. I told you just now that 1 week ago, House of Lords had a dedicated debate just on risk. Every major parliament in the world is having full-fledged discussion on AI, what it means for their country. South Africa for last 2 years is debating an AI bill. Brazil is debating AI bill in the parliament. South Korea is debating AI bill in the parliament. Angola just passed the AI bill. Now, Angola, a small country of 36 million people. And they passed the bill which is the most threatening to the big tech companies. You should study the AI parliamentary bill of Angola and how Angola got guts to challenge every big AI company from China and US. What is happening? Why are we not discussing having an informed debate in the Indian Parliament? So my second recommendation is that the AI policy should be discussed from security, sovereignty, and science point of view in the Indian Parliament. And the third and the last suggestion about the AI in science. On the 3rd of November, the Prime Minister announced a R&D fund of 1 lakh crores. This is a major step taken by the Indian leadership. And before that, he had, the government had announced 50,000 crores of another fund. Some of the people here will know the details. So you have 150,000 crores of government funds available. I don't think much of it would be used because it was just 3rd November and we are in January now. It should be a concentrated effort of the country as a mission to use these funds really for deep science, not for innovation, so it was just cost-cutting innovation. Nowadays, the cost-cutting innovation is used as a euphemism for attracting funds from the government and doing anything. And deep science, so the future of AI is going to be brain-inspired AI. We are lucky to have Manan, Sir Memory and Manan Suri. He is doing neuromorphic computing. If I were in the government, I would give him 10,000 crores right away, because that is the future of AI. And that's hardware. But along with neuromorphic computing, what he's doing, we also need neurosymbolic AI, where there is no effort in India, zero, almost, nothing to be counted. You also need very highly sophisticated mathematical reasoning models, and we need to invest in that. If you do mathematical reasoning models, you will do. We need AI in material prediction and developing new materials, especially rare earth extraction. These are the kind of areas where this money has to go. And then finally, we need to create an ecosystem, because just money is not going to solve the problem. Just the cabinet is not going to solve it. So I would say, in the end, echoing what Dr. Saraswat said, that we have to look at the future of AI as a challenge for the nation. It's not a matter of one section of bureaucracy. It's a matter for the National Security Council. It's a national matter for the parliament. It's a matter for the industry. It's a matter for the scientists. It's a matter for the entrepreneurs. It's a matter for India as a nation and India as one team. Thank you.